104 and it's kind of slowed down. So
Billy, are you Sergeant at Arms today?
I am. I'm filling in for Rick.
I thought so. Thanks.
just a reminder, we are recording and I will try to cut out as much personal health information as I can. I'm now muting Howle, and Steve, it's turned over to you.
Glad to have everybody online today and welcome. As Jack pointed out, I've got this meeting and one more. So with no more concerns, we'll turn it over to Jeff Meigs, who's our chaplain for the day.
Okay, join with me in prayer. Dear Father, we just very thankful for this day, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. We're thankful for friends, family, and loved ones. Please help us to be kind to others, to seek justice, and to help those in need. Help us not to be boastful, envious, or proud. Inspire us to spread hope, peace, and perseverance to those in our community. It's good to recognize how different we are from each other, our talents, our dreams, our backgrounds, our occupations. We just thank you that we can take these differences and mobilize them for the good of Rotary and for our community. As Rotarians, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be part of this fellowship and to serve this community. Give us your strength and wisdom as we seek to serve you and the community in which we live. Lord, we just lift up those among our Rotarians. Lord, we pray for Paula's dad as he's recovering with some health issues. We lift up George Thompson as he gets ready to have this cardioversion procedure this next week. Lord, we just pray that you would be with the physicians and be with all the medical staff and just to help him to go through this and have a very successful procedure. And Lord, we also lift up Jay's granddaughter during this pregnancy and just pray that everything goes well and that we have a very joyful delivery this next week. Father, we just lift these up and these things we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. And we all know that Billy Case is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test. Take it over, Billy.
Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test: is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Billy. Now we move to Happy Dollar. Who would like to bring up a Happy Dollar? Dean?
I'll put in $5. I just celebrated a 52nd wedding anniversary with my bride on last Tuesday. So I'll put in $5. I can't afford 52, but I'll go with $5.
All right. At least it's the 5 and not the 2.
There you go.
Anybody else?
Paul Irvin. Since Dean did 5, I'm going to do 10 because I've actually been married to my wife. She's put up with me, I think, for 6 years longer than you, Dean. Is that right, or 5? I think I'm 58 and you're 52, right? So I'm going to put in $10 because her putting up with me that long, she's worth it. I can tell you that.
All righty. Anybody else?
Gordon?
I think Diane helped me out again. It's as always, day after day after day. I want to put in $10. I had the privilege of visit from my sisters and their husbands and my brother this last week, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time for all of us to be together.
Very good. Anyone else?
Hey, Steve, President Steve, this is Brandon speaking. I'd like to make a quick announcement to the club. Are you there?
I have you on announcements.
Okay, good to go. I'll wait then.
All righty. Any more Happy Dollars? All righty, and we'll move into announcements. And first, President-elect Jeff is not with us today. That's why Jack was so scared. I don't know exactly where he is, but he's out of connection. So, but he did want to announce that we do have a date and a place for our installation banquet and our first face-to-face meeting as a group. And that'll be July 13th at Lake Junaluska. And the other details like time and other kind of things will be to follow. So you can put that on your calendars for that late afternoon and early evening, June 13th at Lake Junaluska.
Dave,
Jack, do you have any other information?
you said both the banquet and face-to-face meeting, so I just clarified that that's the banquet time.
Yeah, that'll be our first face-to-face get-together. And then we will probably resume regular meetings at Laurel Ridge the Friday 10 days after the banquet, because it's on a Tuesday.
Steve, will we have it also Zoom so people who are out of town can get online?
That's the intention. We want to see how
They have the equipment to do that.
for a while, and then make decisions down the road if we won't need to change any of that.
Steve, just to be sure, you're saying that the banquet will be the 13th of July.
Correct.
You, I think, said June, but I wanted to make sure, at least one of the times you mentioned that. So that means that the first in-person meeting will be July the 23rd.
Correct.
Thank you.
And
What time will it be?
I'm sorry, Paul.
What time will the banquet be?
That's one of the details I don't think we know exactly. It'll be late afternoon, early evening. Since the first Friday will be the 4th of July weekend, we will not meet that Friday. And I don't know for sure if we'll meet the second Friday of July before we have the banquet. So that's kind of up to Jeff. We'll let you know when we know. Brandon Wilson asked to make an announcement. Brandon? He wants to share his screen too, Cecil.
Well, I'm not going to share my screen because I'm actually at the warehouse right now,
Okay.
Steve. But real quick, I just want to make a quick announcement to all the Rotarians on a project that I've got going on that I want to start including with the Rotary Club. Next Saturday, June 26th, my organization, we are doing an appreciation event for all essential workers, which includes firefighters and first responders, veterans and service members, but also our school teachers and our nurses and frontline social workers. This appreciation event, we are going to give away free on-cloud running shoes for all these essential workers. The only thing that we are asking in return is for them to write a thank you card to one of our 400 plus veterans in our 4 state nursing homes across the state. So you'll see an article in the paper come out this weekend. The 26th will be our 3rd event. We've had 2 events, one in Asheville, one in Hendersonville, but I've got a whole lot more of these shoes that are coming down the pipeline, as well as a lot of these modified care packages that I'm getting from this partner we've got with Operation Gratitude. And we could use this for a lot of different projects here in Haywood County and the region. So I want to just put that on all the Rotarians' plate. If you fit into one of those categories, we'd love for you to come out, be a part of the event on the 26th at Haywood Sports and Fitness. And like I said, there'll be a lot more information in the paper this week. I'll be sure to send a flyer out to President McNeil. I am actually at our warehouse right now where we are getting all these shoes here loaded up. And just so you can take a look at what one of them looks like, here we go. That is just a male shoe right there. But we are giving those out at free and at no cost. And so just to say thank you to all of our essential workers that's worked so hard and selflessly this past year. So just wanted to make that quick announcement. So if you know any teachers or essential workers, please pass the word on. Like I said, it'll be in the paper this week. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brandon. Sounds like a big event. Mark Bumgarner, you recruiting folks for Open Door?
Yes, I'm taking names right now. This coming Thursday, June the 24th, will be another volunteer day at the Open Door. And I do have already Larry Leatherwood down as a good volunteer. Who else wants to step up and help us out on Thursday, June the 24th?
I see Dean McMahon's hand,
Okay, Dean, thank you.
Ed LaFontaine's hand,
Ed,
Billy Case's hand.
Billy?
Yep.
Okay, we could use one more.
Put me down,
Okay, Steve, thanks.
Mark. We had 5 signed up last month and only 4 of us made it, so
Yeah, well, it worked.
a good number to have an extra.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you.
That's all the announcements I have. Anyone else have an announcement? Okay, not seeing anybody's hand. I'll turn the microphone on his computer over to Ken Howle, our program chairman this month, and the presenter, I understand.
Yes, I am both serving both duties today. I probably should have lined up somebody to introduce me, but I think almost everybody knows me and knows a lot of my background. So, but it is good to be with you. I thought it may be good as Lake Junaluska is approaching its 108th anniversary next Friday for me to talk a little bit about Lake Junaluska today and give you a bit of an overview of where we are as an organization. I will also tell you, you may hear more about Lake Junaluska over the 12 months than you may have in a while, because there is a lot of amazing aspects of Lake Junaluska, from our swans and our swan program to our native garden to all the different activities and events here. And surely enough, I'm over the next 12 months, especially if we have to fill in a speaker here or there, there's a good chance you may hear more about Lake Junaluska from some of the other folks here. So I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay with you, Cecil. It looks like I've got ability to do that. So hang on one second. All righty. Paul Starnes, give me a thumbs up if you can see the Lake Junaluska logo. All righty, good. That's great. That's great. Well, I'm humbled to be given this presentation today too, with my predecessor, Jack Ewing, who was my mentor as well on this call, and then also Gordon Goodgame, who served as executive director here at Lake Junaluska. I think that probably almost every executive director, I would imagine, for the last 30 plus years has been a member of this club, and I am glad to continue that tradition and be connected with you as well. Our mission here at Lake Junaluska is to be a place of Christian hospitality where lives are transformed through renewal of soul, mind, and body. This mission statement was pulled together about 10 years ago in the very office that I'm seated in right now. Jack Ewing and I came together and pulled together a lot of the feedback we'd gotten from people and a lot of our history here, and drafted this. And even though Jack always gives me credit for being a part of that, I was very second fiddle to his leadership in pulling that together. The beauty of those words, though, is it really captures who we've been really for our whole 108 years. So it definitely it models who we are as an organization. Today, I'm going to go over a few things with you about Lake Junaluska. And I'll start out by telling you an interesting story. One of our trustees, a guy named Arch Stokes, who is just a really fascinating man. His daughter, Susanna, was flying from Atlanta to Asheville to come up and visit their family home here at Lake Junaluska. And she was seated on the plane and was, as we usually do on a plane, she was talking with the person beside her, and the person said, "Well, where are you going?" She said, "Oh, I'm going to Lake Junaluska to my parents' house." And of course, the person beside her had heard of Lake Junaluska, was familiar with it. The person lives in Canton, just down the road from us here. And she said what a lot of people say about Lake Junaluska to Susanna. She said, "Oh, I just love Lake Junaluska. Such a beautiful place." And then she also said what we actually hear more frequently than we would think that we should, which is, she said, "That place has always been just such a mystery to me." And even though we have been an open community and have been involved with so many different clubs through the years, it still amazes me. And I know other people in leadership here sometimes that that people in Haywood County don't know more about us. So I'm hoping that today I can maybe begin to chip away at some of that mystery that still surrounds this place, and that we will be less of a mystery as we move forward. A lot of this information will be things that some of you already know, but there may be a nugget or two in there that may be new to you as well. The things I'll go over are history. I find that and I think you would agree, that often the best way to understand an institution is to know how it got started and kind of what brought it to where it is now. I'll also give you an organizational overview and exactly what all we do here at Lake Junaluska. I'll share with you an update on where we are today. That's been a number one question that I get on a regular basis, is because people know that we were probably the hardest hit organization in all of Haywood County last year during the pandemic. I'll share with you 5 key experiences that you can do here at Lake Junaluska this summer. Also, how to find out more information on things that are happening here, and also ways that you can get involved here at Lake Junaluska and be a part of our ongoing ministry. Our history is a fascinating history. As I said earlier, we were founded in 1913, and the journey to 1913 is a really interesting story. The Methodist Episcopal Church South was having a meeting in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and in 1908. And at that time, some of the leaders came together, people like George Stewart and Bishop Atkins, James Atkins. And the thought was, that the Methodist Church needed a place that people could come together somewhere in the Southeast. At the time, the Baptists already had Ridgecrest, the Presbyterians already had Montreat, while even the YMCA already had Blue Ridge Assembly. So we were a little bit behind the curve, but the decision was made, we should find a place that we could build, a place where we could assemble and come together. That began a multi-year search for the best possible location. And during that search, and you may have to unmute your microphone to answer the question I'm about to ask, is, what are the things that you felt like people were looking for, those leaders, when they were looking for a site or a location? There was 3 distinct things that they were trying to find. And you know Junaluska somewhat. What do you think those 3 things were that they were looking for? Any guesses?
Was rail access one of them?
Yes. Very good, Steve. As we learned in our session recently in the club about the Asheville to Murphy line of the Southern Railroad, there is a railroad line that literally is right on the other side of the lake, and passenger service back at that time. And, back in 1908 and even in 1913, that was one of the main ways that people traveled. And it really brought people here.
It was a stop. It also was a stop at Lake Junaluska, and it was where Grace Kelly's last film was filmed when she was coming, or at least the prince was coming to meet her to go over to Asheville to where they filmed the film.
Yes.
But is that not right?
That is right.
Also, this was a layman's conference, by the way, it came out of. It wanted to be a Chautauqua-like community. That was in the resolution. And additionally, it was to bring mission and evagelism to people. Okay, now that doesn't have to do anything about where it was to be located, maybe, but I would think it would have something to do with why Lake Junaluska was founded.
Absolutely. Those are great things, Paul. What are 2 other things that you felt like they were looking for at that time?
Cool spot in the mountains.
A cool spot in the mountains. Yes.
This was in the era before air conditioning.
Yes. And one thing in particular that our climate is renowned for compared to Florida is we have much less mosquitoes. The thought at that time was, let's find a place where it is cooler and where there's fewer mosquitoes. If you remember from your history lessons in the late 1800s, there was a large yellow fever outbreak here in the Southeast, and people were dying. It was actually a really bad situation. And people of affluence, people with ability to travel to cooler climates, often would do that in the summer for the safety of their families. Frederick Law Olmsted's design firm, his sons actually were part of the original study of Lake Junaluska. And here in my office, I actually have a copy of that original study, and it's fascinating. Almost a third of that study is just all about mosquitoes and trying to find a place and how ideal this place was because it did not have many mosquitoes. So yes, exactly right, George. What is the other thing that you think they were probably looking for?
Water.
Water, yes. I love Jack Ewing's comment of God gave us the gift of the mountains and our founders gave us the gift of the lake. Yes, they wanted a location where they could build a lake and they could have a lake. And Bishop Atkins or James Atkins had a house in Waynesville. My understanding is that that house was located where the Wells Fargo Bank is now. And he brought the people that were on this search for the ideal place for what would become known as the Southern Assembly, brought them here to Waynesville. And Waynesville stepped forward and really did everything it could, rolled out the red carpet to try and establish the Southern Assembly in this area. One thing that I've been told, and I'm not exactly sure if this is true, but it does make sense based on where James Atkins's house was, is the original plan for Lake Junaluska is it actually would have been upstream of where Lake Junaluska is now and would have been closer to Waynesville. Many of you that have driven or are familiar with Richland Creek, it flows past the Waynesville Recreation Center and by the scrap yard. And then there's an area there that's actually a narrows where you actually could fairly easily build a dam and then impound the creek that would have backed up into the town of Waynesville. And originally that was one of the locations that they were thinking would be ideal for the Southern Assembly. The story that I've heard is as they were traveling though, along the Tuscola line, on the Southern Railroad line, past the Tuscola flag stop near where Long's Chapel is today, they observed a beautiful sight of the Richland Creek Valley. And they thought, well, that may be an ideal location as well. And ultimately, that's the location that they selected. So again, they wanted a place above the mosquito line, a place where they could have a lake. There are no natural lakes in Western North Carolina, if you're not aware of that. So they needed to build a lake. They wanted a place where they could build a lake and then near a railroad line where you could easily get access to this location. We are very proud of our long Methodist connection. As I shared earlier, we were originally founded by leaders within the Methodist Episcopal Church South. The Methodist Episcopal Church South eventually became the Methodist Church, and then in 1968 became the United Methodist Church. And throughout the years, we have maintained a strong connection with the Methodist Church, and those are our roots. Currently, we are in a covenant agreement with the United Methodist Church, and we are governed by a board of trustees. And our legal name is Lake Junaluska Assembly Incorporated. And we work closely with the United Methodist Church, but currently they do not control or have direct oversight of Lake Junaluska. That change began back in 2008. A significant part of that change was also a loss of funding from the United Methodist Church. And that has been an interesting thing for us to navigate over the years. You can only imagine an organization with a $9 to $10 million budget to all of a sudden lose $1 million in funding. It creates a bit of change and definitely makes you have to operate differently. Thankfully, Jack Ewing and I were able to work together, and under Jack's leadership, we really navigated those difficult waters well, and today are in a strong footing financially. But we are still very, very proud of our Methodist connection. Stewart Auditorium, just behind my office, this weekend, something's going to be happening there that did not happen last year, but it's something that's been happening there for over 60 years. And that's going to be United Methodist ministers are going to get ordained at Stewart Auditorium this weekend. The Western North Carolina Conference is coming back here to this place for ordination, and we are excited about that. Stewart Auditorium was our first building, and it's actually a location where more Methodist ministers have been ordained than we believe any other structure in the world. So we clearly have strong Methodist connections and are proud of those. Our organizational overview, one of the ways that I like to describe Lake Junaluska is that we are a uniquely religious community because we are not a municipality. We really are a community. And our organization, is a place that both host large conferences and gatherings. But as we've migrated over the years, we began a few years ago on having more people come here for vacations. And last year, after we lost most all of our large group business events, we've had a lot of families that began discovering us as an ideal place for vacations, and really people seeking a place of renewal, a place to get away. And that tradition has continued on. It really lifts my heart to walk through the Terrace Hotel and see families there and children laughing. And nothing against Methodist conferences. I love those too, but boy, it's been great to see the place still be alive and people still finding renewal here, even at a time where we don't have as many large conferences. We are a place of recreation. We are probably, between our golf course, our tennis courts, and the walking trail in particular, probably the #1 recreation location in Haywood County. We estimate over 2,000 people a day will walk around Lake Junaluska. One of our board members has a web camera where we're able to actually get accurate counts. And it's been amazing seeing that. And during the pandemic, we were really a place of renewal where when we discovered that being outdoors was much safer, we were able to work together to keep this a safe place for people to come and recreate. We also like to think that recreation is also recreation. And I think we all have experienced that from one time or another. The walking trail around the lake is 3.8 miles if you do the outer loop, and the inner loop, which utilizes the footbridge across the Narrows, is 2.3 miles. It's also one of the flattest trails around in this area. The lake itself is 200 acres. It's slightly smaller than it was originally between the highway department putting in Highway 19 and then also some of the area being filled in through the years with sediment. It is slightly smaller, but it is a very large lake and good for recreation as well. And then one of the things that's really cool about us and something that's really unique about us, and I know many of you on this call are actually property owners at Lake Junaluska, is we are a very active community with over 850 property owners. And here, the way we're structured under my office, under Lake Junaluska Assembly Incorporated, we're not only a conference center, but we're also a community. And we have a public works department that provides the services that you would typically have from a municipality. And we work together along with the conference center. There's just great unity in moving the overall organization forward. This is a picture of our executive staff currently at Lake Junaluska. On the far left is Mike Huber. Mike is our general manager. He oversees the conference center operations and the day in and day in activities within our hotels and meeting spaces. Some of you last night were at the York Dining Commons for the Chamber of Commerce dinner, and Mike and his culinary crew were responsible for pulling that together. I loved hearing people's reaction too to seeing that building. 7 years ago, Jack Ewing began the process of revisioning that building. And for me, I kept thinking last night, Jack, I wish you had been there to see it, because people's eyes were just amazed at the work that's been done there as we've been living into that vision. Beside Mike Huber is Cindy Crenshaw. Cindy Crenshaw is our Director of Finance and Administration here. Right beside Cindy is Dave Nicholson, our Director of Public Works. And then Rebecca Mathis, who I actually met at a Rotary meeting. It's one of the best hires I ever have made. I came to visit our Rotary Club and she was the speaker, you may have remembered. And I went up to her afterwards and I told her the mission statement and I told her what we were about and was asking if she knew of anybody that was interested in doing some fundraising work. And the next day she called me and basically it was the mission statement that brought her to Lake Junaluska. And she's been just a wonderful, wonderful asset here and a great part of our team. So Lake Junaluska today, recovery is happening. If you have not been at Lake Junaluska recently, I encourage you to come by and see. Not only are people still walking and recreating here, but we are now getting groups that are coming back. Brandon's veterans group came earlier this year. They were actually our first group that we had back when things started to reopen. And they were amazing. And they gave us phenomenal grace because I'll be honest, when you don't run operations like that for 16 months, It's kind of like getting in an old car that hasn't run in a while. And when you turn that engine over, things don't always go right. But we are thankful to be open and thankful that recovery is happening here at Lake Junaluska. We are seeing those events return. And even though honestly, it feels very busy right now because we're so short-staffed, as in most people within the hospitality industry, it is still a slow road to recovery. We won't be fully back to where we were before until probably 2023. Several of our large conferences, like the Church of the Brethren Older Adult Conference that typically takes place in September, they basically said, we do not want to plan our event until we know for sure we can come. So they have delayed out. So we are seeing recovery happening, but it is a slow return. There are 5 things that I want to share with you today that are great experiences here at Lake Junaluska that you may or may not know about. One is our Cherokee excursion boat. The very first boat across the lake was called the Cherokee, and we are now on our 4th Cherokee. And it is a wonderful pontoon boat and a great way to get out and see Lake Junaluska along with a tour guide. And my understanding is that when we do our Rotary event here at Lake Junaluska, we're going to include an excursion on the Cherokee 4 with the best guide that you could ever have on the Cherokee 4. And I hope that this is true. I've heard through the grapevine that Jack Ewing is going to be giving tours, and we'll be able to go out and Jack will give a tour of the lake and share with you. If you've never done it, it's amazing. It's for the general public. We do it Thursday through Sunday and several times throughout the day. You can actually book online, and it's one of the best deals in Haywood County. It's only $10. If you've got family and friends coming into town, it's a great way to spend basically 45 minutes to an hour and really get out and see the lake and learn the history. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. The walk around Lake Junaluska. If you've never done it, I encourage you to come out and enjoy the walk around Lake Junaluska or to go for a run around Lake Junaluska. Our trail is definitely just a phenomenal asset and a great activity for families. And we see it as a really big part of our ministry here. We're very unique in the sense that we are open to the public and we allow people to come here. And we fund the walking trail 100% through charitable giving. And it's amazing, the people that come and recreate here that have addresses not at Lake Junaluska, they give very generously because they appreciate that resource and they appreciate being able to come and renew themselves here at Lake Junaluska. We also have a new initiative for us called Lake Junaluska Outfitters. And this is our expanded canoe and kayak rental program. One of the other things we learned last year in the pandemic is people really want to get out on the water. When Jack Ewing retired, we gave him a kayak, and I think I've seen him out a few times in it. If you've never been out canoeing or kayaking on Lake Junaluska, it is a great experience. It's one of the few lakes around where there's not motorboat traffic. So, if you've got grandkids or family members that are maybe learning how to canoe or kayak or stand up paddleboard for the first time, it's an ideal place where you can come and enjoy that, and you can actually make reservations for it online. We also have a great outdoor pool, which we're continuing to improve. And it's probably one of the prettiest pools in all of Western North Carolina as well. There's a rumor I'm going to share with you, and it maybe won't be so much of a rumor. We're actually working on maybe putting a slide in too. So I'm hoping that once we get in, George Thompson may come over and we can go down the slide together. But anyways, we are working on ways to continue to improve our pool. And it's all part of our Lake Junaluska Outfitters program, including mini golf and other activities here as well. The other thing you can do is attend an event at Lake Junaluska. Several of you came out last night for the chamber banquet. I know many of you hopefully will come to the Juneteenth event that is this weekend. One of the things that's part of the mystery of Lake Junaluska is sometimes people think you have to be at an event such as a Methodist conference to come here. The reality of it is we have lots of events that are open to the general public that anyone can come to. The Juneteenth event is a great example. It doesn't even cost anything to come, and you can come and have good food and fellowship and worship. Almost everything we do here at Lake Junaluska is open to the public, and we want people to come and be involved here. This was a prayer event that we did last year, and we regularly will do prayer events that are open to the public. This is up at our amphitheater, right below the Lake Junaluska Cross. This is the location too where we do a sunrise service every year we do a sunrise service here, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful location. If you like music, we also do great music events here at Lake Junaluska. Not only the longstanding tradition of the Lake Junaluska Singers, but also we are the home stage of Balsam Range, the best bluegrass band anywhere. And we're so glad to be their home stage. They're going to be performing here on July the 3rd in Stewart Auditorium. It's a reduced capacity concert. We're excited about it, and we're excited to have them back on their home stage. And then December, the Art and Music Festival will be taking place at Lake Junaluska. The stage at Stewart Auditorium has seen some of the best voices, either preachers or musicians in the world. And if you've never experienced a concert there, I encourage you to check it out. We also, I'm thrilled to share, are going to be doing the fireworks again this year. Our fireworks display is one of the best around, and it's one of the few that's actually on a body of water. And we'll be launching them from the bridge over the dam again this year. And that'll be on July 4th as soon as the sun goes down. So if you are anywhere within probably 10 miles of Lake Junaluska, you'll be able to see or hear them for sure. So I hope that you can check that out and participate in that. One of the things too that's great about Lake Junaluska, aside from our community, is how you can get involved here. We have great volunteer involvement opportunities at Lake Junaluska. You probably see the posting sometimes about our lake cleanups or various things that take place here. And we recently had one of the funnest, volunteer opportunities I think you could ever have, which was our flea market. The Junaluskans, which I'll tell you about more in a minute, is a group of people that love Lake Junaluska and do volunteer work here throughout the year. That varies everything from helping out with events like our flea market to the lake cleanup, to even maintaining many of the different 16 gardens that we have here at Lake Junaluska. One thing that grows really well in Western North Carolina is weeds, and we are thankful for our weed crew that goes in at all of our gardens and helps maintain those areas. It is a great way to get involved here for sure. To find out more information about Lake Junaluska, our website's always a great place to go. We keep it updated constantly. Our main address is lakejunaluska.com. And then if you're just wondering what's going on each season, an easy way to find that out is put in lakejunaluska.com/summer. And then you'll take you to a page on our website with links to the different activities specifically for the summer, then also in the fall. We do what we can to get information out because we really want people to come here and feel welcomed here at Lake Junaluska. You can also find us through social media. I know many of you use social media, and these are our different ways that you can find us through social media as well. We post there, and then many people will also share their experiences on there. If you ever want to sort of brighten up your day, you can go on our Facebook page and just read the comments. We'll put a picture up of the cross or a beautiful scene here at Lake Junaluska, and people from all over the world will share their stories about the things that they've been able to do here at Lake Junaluska and here in Haywood County. So ways to get involved. I talked about that just a minute ago. The Junaluskans is one of the best ways to get involved. The Junaluskans, you do not have to be a property owner here to be a Junaluskan. Actually, a lot of members of the Junaluskans are people that do not live here. But if you go onto the community part of our website, it's lakejunaluskacommunity.org, and then the Junaluskans, you can actually find out information about membership and how to be involved in some of the different opportunities. Another way to be involved, and we have a lot of people that do this and we greatly appreciate it, is to make a gift. When you believe in something and you're able to make a gift to support that, you're then involved in that and you're enabling that to happen. And we get a lot of gifts here at Lake Junaluska. As I shared earlier, the walking trail and many of the things that we provide to the greater community are funded exclusively through charitable giving. Last year, we had over $1.8 million given to Lake Junaluska. This year, we are already at $1.1 million. People love Lake Junaluska. They want to be a part of Lake Junaluska, and their generosity continues to enable us to impact people's lives and be open to the public here. We greatly, greatly appreciate that. And the address on our website, if you'd like to make a gift, is lakejunaluska.com/support. And the other thing always to get involved is just to visit and experience Lake Junaluska. Come out and watch the sunset. Come out and watch the sunrise. It is just, there's something about the water and the lake that just really renews your soul. I continually hear people say that. Last night at the chamber dinner, I was talking with somebody and they basically said every day, if they ever feel down or blue, they'll come and just sit beside the lake and it renews them. And we're so thankful that we can do that and so thankful that people come here and involved in that way. What questions do you have for me? I mean, this was kind of a fire hose of information and a lot of it, some of you may have already known, but I would love to be able to answer any questions. And then also, if there's suggestions you have for other things you would like to know about Lake Junaluska that could be a future program, please share those as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the renovations you've done, or would that be a future program?
Well, that really could be both. We have done a lot of renovations, especially over the last 12 years. The Terrace Hotel was renovated, I think, 6 years ago. And the Lambeth Inn was renovated right before the pandemic. And it is completely different than how it was before, really refreshed and renewed. And even the York Dining Commons, which was formerly known as the Jones Dining Hall, was renovated as well. It's a 3-phase renovation there. And we finished the second phase during the pandemic, which was the building of the large deck and then the bathrooms. And then we're continually putting money back in the organization to maintain our existing facilities. And we are working on some plans, a little too early to tell for sure, but some plans to greatly enhance our recreation area. And then also the area that is really where our families and young and our youth events take place in and around Shackford Hall. We know that reinvesting back here is one of the biggest keys for our long-term success. One of the things that makes me the most happy is when I take people like Steve McNeil into a room that he hasn't been in 30 years or 20 years, and he walks in and he says, wow, this is so much better than it was before. And I am so thankful that Jack set the stage for that and left things in great shape, which also really helped us through the pandemic during a time period where we could not invest as much in. But we are excited about more improvements to come.
Ken, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Is that the building you mentioned, New York? Is that the building that used to be the Edwin L. Jones cafeteria where you had the meeting last night or the dinner or whenever you had that?
It is.
Talking about.
It is.
Well, I
Yes,
think it's typical because the Yorks from High Point, a wonderful Methodist. Of course, Edwin L. Jones was one of the reasons we have the World Methodist Council, or had it where it was. And I do think that there's still a lot of individual Methodist support, even though the jurisdiction really does not have any of the control it used to have.
You are right.
There was a great article in the paper just Wednesday that I hope some of you have read about a little bit more detail about the World Methodist Council and the building. I actually had lunch 2 weeks ago, Kit and I, with Mrs. Reynolds, who's, the Reynolds family. He's passed away.
Yes.
He gave the money for the building. When Joe Hale and I met with him and his wife to ask for resources to build the building, he actually, Joe originally wanted to have the Foundation for Evangelism to share the space. So I suggested we meet with Royce and Jane. They agreed to do it. I think at that time they thought $1.2 million would do it. I think they eventually gave $1.5 million. But he wrote a check and handed it to me for $12,200,000. And I gave it back and I said, I think you've got too many zeros, which he was embarrassed about. But y'all got a deal. I know there's a lot of work to be done because I think you probably got both buildings for what it costs to build that one building.
Yeah.
And I hope you're going to put it to good use. Okay.
We definitely are going to work towards that for sure.
The one thing I would point out is that I think that I know this year you've been down, but haven't you historically been the largest payer of motel tax or whatever it is for the hospitality tax in the county?
We've been the single largest in terms of one organization. Yes, we have been the single largest for sure.
So you really do help the county there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can you comment, are you free to comment anything about the current status of the economics? And are you receiving support through the federal government in assistance? And after the coronavirus, are you deeply in debt, or are we still in the black?
Yeah, good question, George. Yeah, as you've probably read in the paper and heard me talk about in the past, we were severely impacted last year and really continue to be impacted this year. Typically, this week is when we would have already had the Seventh-day Adventists. We would have had the Western North Carolina and the Holston conferences, all of which did not happen this year. In a typical May, for example, our typical lodging revenue would be $400,000. Last year, it was $14,000. So it gives you definitely a sense of where the difference was. This year, we did come back around. We were at $268,000. So we are definitely coming back to where we were, but we're not all the way there. You mentioned loans. I will tell you the payroll protection plan loan is one of the best programs that I've ever seen put together. It is one that kept people working and helped keep organizations like us afloat through this time. And we were able to access 2 of those loans, both of which we believe will be forgiven, which has really helped us get through this with really minimal debt. We ended last year after a $4.5 million loss of revenue. We ended the year with only a $90,000 deficit. And because Gordon Goodgame and Jack Ewing left us in good shape financially, we were able to navigate that loss without having to take on additional debt. So where it's positioned us now as we begin to rebuild is a fairly strong footing, where we're not so deep into debt now with debt structure that we would not be able to pay off as we move forward. And does put us in a position too where we can invest back into maintenance and some new structures as we move forward. Thanks, George.
I wanted to add, this is Mike McLean, that complimenting what you said about the love for the lake and holding things, that 3 out of the 5 folk mood events in late July are going to be at Lake Junaluska. Friday night, Saturday night, and the closing ceremony at Stewart. So we'll be talking more about folk mood as we get closer, but it's just a no-brainer to where we were going to hold the reemergence of folk mood.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate you and Glenn choosing us for sure.
Ken, can you speak a little bit about what effect and the planning taking place for the 1923-74 road changes? I know it's going to be a really big mess, and
that's almost a whole program in itself. We, if you're not aware of this, it was in the paper this week. We actually would have preferred that it had been probably a little bit longer before it came out into the media. But and right before the meeting today, I actually was interviewed along with the mayor of Maggie Valley on WLOS regarding this project. In a nutshell, there's if you're ever driving from Lake Junaluska to Dr. White's over at Haywood Community College, as you leave Lake Junaluska on Highway 19, you'll drive underneath what's called a flyover bridge, and then you'll enter into the highway there on the wrong side, on the left-hand side, as you're navigating over towards Clyde. That bridge, the flyover bridge, and then the 2 bridges that cross Richland Creek near the Lake Junaluska golf course, and really near the industrial park, that area, all need to be replaced. They're all at the end of their life, and the North Carolina DOT has been working on replacing those. Unfortunately, the way the project is going is in the process of replacing the bridges. They believe they'll actually have to shut down exit 103 and really technically Highway 19 for a very extended period of time. Originally, we thought 2 to 3 months closure. Now, some of the timeframes that they've articulated in the early plans are a 2 to 3 year closure, meaning that if you lived in Maggie Valley and you were trying to go to Lowe's, the only way you'd be able to get to Lowe's would be to drive all the way out to Interstate 40 and then come all the way around to get to Lowe's, or you would have to take Russ Avenue and then get off there, which is, all of us know, Russ Avenue can be very congested. So we've been working closely with the DOT. We are really in favor of this project. We think it's a really good project. We are encouraging them, and they are responding at looking at alternate plans that would greatly reduce or hopefully eliminate closures. I think we all can understand that construction is bad enough, but construction with closures of major highways is even worse. So we're going to continue to work on that. The North Carolina Department of Transportation originally was planning a public input process this summer, but because now they're going back and reworking some of their plans, the latest we've heard is it could be actually as late as January before they begin the public input process. Even though this exit is here at Lake Junaluska and impacts us, it really impacts the entire county. This will have a profound impact on our county, and we are thankful that the Department of Transportation is taking it seriously and looking at alternatives. And I'll definitely keep you informed, and I know the Department of Transportation will as well.
Ken, is it mainly because of money, or is it because of planning? Because I do know that, and would the infrastructure bill that's in Congress affect that? Could it be done earlier if we had all the money in 1 year is what my question is.
What the engineers have told us is that money is not the issue, but it is the engineering and logistics that are more of the issue, and also staying within the current right-of-ways. We're attempting, which we all can understand that, to not have to take on additional property. And this comes, obviously very close to our property, and we've already expressed a willingness to work with them on those right-of-ways. It also comes out very close to the high-tech center, which is part of Haywood Community College. And but again, they're trying to figure out how to do this with either minimizing or eliminate the closures, but also to not go in and have to acquire other property. But we hopefully will get more of an update soon.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hey, Steve, before we close today, normally we introduce a speaker at the beginning, but since Ken didn't do that, didn't introduce himself, I thought I'd invite a person who knows him pretty well to do that. And since Ken did his own program, I'll do the introduction. Ken grew up here in North Carolina, went to Western Carolina University, majored in business administration and outdoor adventure, or whatever the appropriate title was at that time. And right after graduating from Western Carolina University, he became one of the founding directors for Nantahala Outdoor Center, and worked at NOC for a number of years. And one of the things that is really unique about Ken is that with NOC not being a year-round organization, he had to find something to do in the winter. So he decided that he was going to lead excursions in Antarctica. I bet there are very few people on this call who know that Ken led excursions in Antarctica. And then, ironically, one of the things that Ken did at NOC was to try to build up their business. So he would come over to Lake Junaluska and try to convince the staff at Lake Junaluska to do rafting trips with the youth groups that came. And that's how he ended up being introduced to Lake Junaluska. And I think it was probably 17, 18 years ago, Ken. Is that right?
You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
18 years ago, Ken joined the staff at Lake Junaluska, and we've been blessed. He's a great guy.
Don't cry now, Jack. Okay.
You know me, Paul. You know me well. I can't say anything meaningful without getting teary. So
I know you can't,
anyway,
buddy, but I know you love him and he's doing a great job. But I want him to have at least 1 or 2 more programs on his walk down the Grand Canyon and back up.
Rim to rim to rim.
Amen.
Well, thank you, Jack. You were, as everyone knows, I've said it numerous times, Jack was a phenomenal mentor to me, and I'm blessed to be able to be in this seat right after you were here. So thank you. Thank you.
Very good job on the program and what you're doing at the lake. And I know from some of the meetings we've had that Jack's influence still hangs around a little bit. Any other questions for Ken? I don't see any hands go up. Ken, thank you very much again. And thank you for taking on the program chair for next year. And we look forward to seeing what you drum up for us.
Steve.
Yes, Cecil.
Yeah, just to tag on to the upcoming banquet, just so folks can be thinking about this, there will be a sign up process. We'll be asking for reservations, probably not before, I'm assuming not before Jeff gets back and reviews it. I've sent he and Stacy a method by which to do that. But part of that will be asking if you're interested in having the boat tour that Ken mentioned, so that we can kind of plan on the time we'll need to fill folks in. So just be thinking about that, and we'll get word out to you as soon as we can. Thank you, Steve.
Certainly. And another thing that Ken mentioned is Juneteenth tomorrow. Vic Ed LaFontaine is part of the organization for that. So if you would like to participate other than just attending, be in touch with them.
Today is officially the holiday since it falls on Saturday tomorrow.
Right.
So, but the 19th is the official date.
Ed, do you have any announcements?
No, the keynote speaker is slated for 2:00, and expect that program to last about 45 minutes to an hour, and it's going to be at the Nancy Weldon Gym. And then following that, there'll be a whole slate of activities for adults as well as children in the Nancy Weldon area. So come on out. Weather looks like we're going to continue this dry spell at least for one more day, and look forward to seeing you.
Ed, do you know, should people bring camp chairs, or do you think there'll be sufficient seating?
There will be sufficient seating in the Nancy Weldon Gym area, but there'll be metal chairs. And so if you want something a little bit more comfortable, there'll be an area that you can certainly set up a folding camp chair if you would like.
Thank you.
Sure.
Steve, before we go, let me just make one, I think we ought to give credit and praise to people, Rotarians that do a good job. And as living on the lake, I want to thank Ed LaFontaine and his wife for the great job they did on the flea market. And it's my understanding, I had nothing to do with it, couldn't be here. I wasn't even around. So this is all Ed. But I think they raised somewhere around $26,000 for the lake. So Ed, we want to give you a round of applause for that.
Thanks, but I truly are going to have to pass those kudos on to my wife. Definitely the brains of the organization, and as she said, I got to be the bra.
Well, we really knew that, Ed, but we just want to give you a little credit.
Yeah, I was looking for
it turned out well, and it was a great turnout from the community. Got to see a lot of people that I haven't seen for over a year, so it's kind of like Pancake Day.
Very good. We walked away with 3 plants last week from Cynthia Ewing, so and a snow shovel. People can't. You gonna do shovel snow?
Well, with global warming, I'm not sure that was a good buy.
$2.
Well, maybe that's a good buy.
All right, that's all. We will see you next Friday for my last issue of my presidency. So have a good week. See you next week.